If you really committed this crime, speak now. It's the only thing that might stop me from giving you the maximum sentence allowed by law.
I swear, I never meant for this to happen. It was a terrible mistake. Please, I'm begging you, May, forgive me.
It was supposed to be a perfect weekend. A lakeside house, clear skies, two families trying to reconnect after years of drifting apart, and Harper Vale, the quiet, dependable friend who volunteered to watch the kids while the adults took a break. But on the afternoon of June 14th, everything changed. The 911 call came in at 4:47 p.m. "There's been an accident, 2 children, they're not breathing. Please, you have to hurry." The voice on the line was shaking, desperate. It was Harper. When paramedics arrived at the lake house just outside the small coastal town of Pine Haven, they found her sitting on the wooden dock, soaking wet, staring out at the water. Her hands were trembling. Her eyes were distant, almost empty. Behind her, on the grass, lay 2 small bodies, 6-year-old Emma Calloway, 8-year-old Daniel Rost. Both had drowned. The paramedics worked frantically, but it was too late. The children had been underwater too long. There was nothing anyone could do. Harper didn't move. She didn't cry. She just kept staring at the lake. One of the EMTs knelt beside her, trying to get her attention. "Ma'am, can you tell me what happened?" Harper blinked slowly as if waking from a dream. And then she said something that would haunt everyone who heard it. They were so calm until they just disappeared. The EMT frowned. "What do you mean, disappeared?" But Harper didn't answer. She just kept staring at the water, her lips slightly parted, her breathing shallow. Within an hour, the parents arrived. Their screams could be heard from the road. Vanessa Calloway, Emma's mother, collapsed the moment she saw her daughter's body. Her husband, Greg, had to be physically restrained as he lunged toward Harper, shouting through tears. "What did you do? What did you do to my baby?" Daniel's parents, Karen and Todd Rost, stood frozen in shock, unable to speak, unable to move. The police separated them. They had questions. Too many questions. How long had Harper been alone with the children? Where were the life jackets? Why didn't she notice they were gone? And, most importantly, why was she just standing there? Harper was taken to the police station that night for questioning. She wasn't arrested, not yet. But the look in the detective's eyes told her everything. She was already guilty. The next morning, the story hit the news. By noon, it had gone national. 2 children drown while under the care of family friend. Was it negligence or something worse? Harper's face was everywhere. Her name became a symbol, a warning, a villain in a tragedy no one fully understood yet. But here's the thing about tragedies. They're never as simple as, they seem. Because Harper Vale had no memory of what happened that afternoon. At least that's what she told the police. And in the days that followed, as investigators combed through every detail, they began to notice something strange. Harper's story didn't add up. The timeline was wrong. The evidence didn't match. And the more people talked, the more contradictions appeared. Some said Harper was a saint. Others called her a monster. But no one, not the police, not the parents, not even Harper herself, knew the full truth. Not yet. Because the truth was still underwater, waiting. By the time Harper woke up the morning after the drownings, her life had already been destroyed. She didn't know it yet. She was staying at a small motel on the edge of town. The police had advised her not to go home, not with the media swarming outside her apartment. They said it was for her own safety. But Harper barely heard them. She hadn't slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the lake, the water, the silence. She reached for her phone. That was her first mistake. The screen lit up with hundreds of notifications, texts, missed calls, emails from people she hadn't spoken to in years. And then she saw the headlines. Monster or victim, the Harper Vale case. Friends say she was always a little off. Parents demand justice for drowned children. Her hands started shaking. She opened social media. Another mistake. Her face was everywhere. Photos from her college days. Screenshots of old posts taken wildly out of context. Strangers dissecting every word, every smile, every moment of her life. Someone had created a hashtag, Justice for Emma and Daniel. It was trending. The comments were vicious. She doesn't even look sorry. How do you just let 2 kids drown? I hope she rots in prison. Harper dropped the phone. Her chest tightened. She couldn't breathe. She was alone, completely alone, and the world had already decided who she was. Across town, at the Calloway family home, Vanessa sat in her daughter's bedroom, clutching Emma's favorite stuffed rabbit. She hadn't moved in hours. Her husband, Greg, stood in the doorway, his face red and swollen from crying. "We trusted her," he whispered. "We let her take our daughter. And now—" He couldn't finish the sentence. Vanessa didn't respond. She just stared at the empty bed, her mind replaying every moment of the weekend, every decision, every choice that led to this. She had been the one who invited Harper. She had been the one who said, "Harper's great with kids. She'll keep them entertained while we relax." The guilt was suffocating, but beneath the guilt was something else, anger. "I want her arrested," Vanessa said quietly. "I want her to pay for what she did." Greg nodded. "She will. I'll make sure of it." But even as he said it, a small voice in the back of his mind whispered a question he didn't want to answer. What if it wasn't her fault? He pushed the thought away. At the Rosti household, the grief was quieter, but no less devastating. Karen sat at the kitchen table staring at a photo of Daniel, his wide smile, his bright eyes. Todd stood by the window, his jaw clenched, his fists tight. "The detective called," he said. "They're opening a formal investigation." Karen didn't look up. Good. They said Harper claims she doesn't remember what happened. Karen's head snapped toward him. She doesn't remember? That's what she told them. Karen's eyes filled with tears again. But this time they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of rage. "She's lying," Karen said, her voice shaking. "She has to be lying." Todd didn't respond, but deep down, he wasn't sure, because he remembered something he hadn't told anyone yet, a conversation he'd had with Harper the night before the drownings. She had seemed off, distracted, nervous, like she was somewhere else entirely. He had brushed it off at the time, but now he wondered if he should have said something. Back at the motel, Harper finally managed to stand. She looked at herself in the mirror. Her eyes were hollow. Her skin was pale. She barely recognized herself. The police had told her not to leave town. They would need to speak with her again, soon. But Harper didn't care about that. All she cared about was the question pounding in her skull, over and over again. What happened? She remembered bits and pieces. The kids playing by the water, laughter, sunshine, and then nothing. A gap, a blank space where her memory should be. She had told the detective the truth. She didn't remember, but she could tell he didn't believe her. No one did. Harper sank onto the edge of the bed and buried her face in her hands. And for the first time since it happened, she let herself cry. Because deep down, in a place she didn't want to look, Harper was terrified. Not because she didn't know what happened, but because she was starting to suspect she did. And the truth was worse than anything the world could accuse her of. The lake house was quiet now. Yellow crime scene. Tape stretched across the dock. The water was still. Almost too still. Detective Marcus Reyes stood at the edge of the property, watching his team work. He'd been a homicide detective for 15 years, but this case felt different. 2 dead children, no clear explanation, and a suspect who claimed she couldn't remember. He didn't like it. His partner, Detective Ana Morales, walked up beside him holding a notepad. "Neighbors are talking," she said. "You're going to want to hear this." Reyes turned to her. "What did they say?" Ana flipped through her notes. "The Hendersons lived 2 houses down. They were home all weekend. Mrs. Henderson said she saw Harper outside around 3 p.m., just standing by the water. Standing? Yeah. She said Harper was just staring for a long time. She thought it was weird, but didn't think much of it. Reyes frowned. How long is a long time? She estimated maybe 10 minutes, maybe more. Reyes looked back at the lake. 10 minutes was a long time to stand perfectly still, especially when you're supposed to be watching 2 children. Anything else? Anna hesitated. Yeah. Mr. Patterson, the neighbor on the other side, said he heard something. Around 4 p.m. What kind of something? Humming, or maybe singing, he wasn't sure, but he said it sounded like a woman's voice, coming from near the dock. Reyes raised an eyebrow. Humming. That's what he said. He thought it was strange because it sounded cheerful, like someone singing to themselves. Reyes felt a chill run down his spine. 2 children drowning, and Harper Vale was humming. Did he see her? No, just heard it. But the timing matches up. Reyes nodded slowly. All right, let's pull everything. Phone records, security footage from nearby houses. I want to know every single movement she made that day. Anna nodded and walked off. Reyes stayed by the water a moment longer, staring at the dock. Something about this didn't sit right. Back at the station, the evidence room was starting to fill up. Harper's phone, her bag, her clothes from that day, still damp, smelling faintly of lake water. The forensic team was combing through everything. Officer Jamie Cho sat at a desk, scrolling through Harper's text messages from the days leading up to the drowning. Most of it was mundane. Work schedules, grocery lists, a few exchanges with friends, but then buried. And in a thread with Vanessa Calloway, Jamie found something. A message from 3 days before the trip. Harper, are you sure this is a good idea? I don't know if I'm the right person for this. Vanessa, you'll be fine. The kids love you. And honestly, I need the break. Please, Harper, I'm counting on you. Harper, okay, I'll do my best. Jamie stared at the screen. Harper had doubts. She didn't want to go, but Vanessa had pushed her. Jamie made a note and kept scrolling. That afternoon, Detective Reyes interviewed the first round of witnesses at the station. First up, Greg Calloway. Greg sat across from Reyes, his hands folded tightly on the table. His eyes were red, his face drawn. Thank you for coming in, Mr. Calloway, Reyes said gently. I know this is incredibly difficult. Greg nodded but didn't speak. I need to ask you about Harper Vale. How long have you known her? About 5 years, Greg said quietly. She and Vanessa went to college together. They stayed close. And you trusted her with your daughter? Greg's jaw tightened. We did. Vanessa vouched for her. She said Harper was responsible, caring. Did you ever have any concerns about her? Greg hesitated. Mr. Calloway. No, Greg said finally. Not really. Not really, Greg exhaled. Look, Harper was always a little quiet, reserved. Sometimes she seemed distracted. But I never thought she'd... He trailed off, his voice breaking. Reyes leaned forward. Did anything unusual happen that weekend? Before the drowning? Greg thought for a moment. Harper seemed off. The night before, at dinner, she barely ate. Barely talked. Vanessa asked if she was okay, and Harper just said she was tired. Did she seem upset? Angry? No, just distant, like she wasn't really there. Reyes made a... One more question. When you left Harper alone with the kids that afternoon, how long were you planning to be gone? Maybe an hour. We just went to the store in town. We thought the kids would be fine. Harper said she'd keep an eye on them. Greg's voice cracked. We never should have left. Next, Reyes spoke to Karen Rost. She was calmer than Greg, but the pain in her eyes was just as raw. Mrs. Rost, I need to ask you about Harper. Did you know her well? Not really, Karen said. She was Vanessa's friend. I'd met her a few times. She always seemed nice. Nice? Yeah, polite. Soft-spoken, good with kids. Did you ever see anything that concerned you? Karen paused. No, but... My husband said something to me last night. He said Harper seemed nervous the night before it happened, like she didn't want to be there. Reyes leaned in. Did she say why? No, but... Todd said she kept checking her phone, like she was waiting for something. Reyes underlined that in his notes. Do you think Harper is responsible for what happened to your son? Karen's eyes filled with tears. I don't know. I want to believe it was an accident. But how do you not notice two children drowning? She wiped her eyes. Something doesn't add up, detective, and I need to know what it is. By the end of the day, Reyes had more questions than answers. Harper had been acting strange before the drowning. She'd been reluctant to go. She'd seemed distracted, nervous. And then, on the day it happened, she'd been standing by the water, staring, humming, and two children had drowned. Reyes sat alone in his office, staring at the case file. He picked up his phone and called Anna. I need you to pull security footage from every house within a quarter mile of that lake. Already. On it, Anna said. But Marcus, there's something you should know. What? We found a camera, mounted on the neighbor's shed. It faces the dock. Reyes sat up, and? It caught something. You need to see this. Detective Reyes stared at the screen in the station's tech lab. The footage was grainy, black and white, but clear enough. The timestamp read 4:17 p.m., 30 minutes before the 911 call. Harper Vale stood on the dock, her back to the camera. Perfectly still. The two children, Emma and Daniel, were visible in the frame, playing near the edge of the water, laughing, splashing. Harper didn't move. Keep watching, Anna said quietly. Reyes leaned closer. At 4:23 p.m., the children moved out of frame toward the deeper part of the lake. Harper still didn't move. She just stood there, staring, for 7 full minutes. At 4:30 p.m., Harper finally turned, slowly, like she'd just woken up. She looked around. Her head turned left, then right, and then she ran. The footage cut off. Reyes sat back in his chair, his jaw tight. What the hell was she doing? Anna shook her head. I don't know. But that's not someone watching kids. That's someone in a trance. Or someone who didn't care. Anna didn't respond. Reyes exhaled. Get this to the DA's office, now. By the next morning, the district attorney had made her decision. Harper Vale would be charged, not with murder, not yet, but with 2 counts of criminally negligent homicide. The press conference was held at noon. District Attorney Sharon Winters stood at the podium, her expression calm but firm. After a thorough review of the evidence, my office has decided to move forward with charges against Harper Vale in connection with the deaths of Emma Calloway and Daniel Rost. The room erupted with camera flashes and shouted questions. Winters raised a hand. We believe that Ms. Vale's failure to act, her negligence in supervising these children, directly led to their deaths. This was not an accident. This was a preventable tragedy. Do you believe Harper Vale intended to harm those children? A reporter shouted. Winters paused. At this time, we are not pursuing murder charges, but we are pursuing justice, and we will prove that Harper Vale is responsible. More flashes, more questions. Winters stepped away from the podium. The case was officially open. Harper watched the press conference from her motel room. She sat on the edge of the bed, her hands gripping the remote so tightly her knuckles turned white. Criminally negligent homicide. The words echoed in her mind. She wanted to scream. She wanted to throw something, but she couldn't move, because part of her wondered if they were right. What had she been doing for those 7 minutes? She remembered standing on the dock. She remembered the warmth of the sun, the sound of the water, and then nothing. A blank space. A fog. She didn't remember the children going into the water. She didn't remember them calling for help. She only remembered waking up. That's what it felt like, waking up, and realizing they were gone. Her phone buzzed. It was her lawyer, a public defender named Michael Cross. He'd been assigned to her case 2 days ago. She answered. "Harper, it's Michael. Did you see the press conference?" "Yeah." "Okay. Listen to me. Do not talk to anyone, not the press, not your friends, not even your family. Anything you say will be used against you. I didn't do anything wrong. I believe you, but the DA doesn't, and right now, public opinion is not on your side." Harper's voice cracked. "Michael, I don't. Remember what happened. How am I supposed to defend myself if I don't even know?" There was a long pause. That's going to be a problem, Harper." She closed her eyes. "What do you mean?" "The prosecution is going to use that against you. They're going to say you're lying. Or worse, that you dissociated because of guilt. But I'm not lying. I know. But we need to figure out why you don't remember, and we need to do it fast." Harper's chest tightened. What if I never remember?" Michael hesitated. "Then we find another way. Meet me tomorrow. We'll start building your defense." He hung up. Harper sat in the silence, staring at the wall. Her life was falling apart, and she couldn't stop it. Across town, at the DA's office, Sharon Winters sat with Detective Reyes, reviewing the case file. "This footage is damning," Winters said, tapping the screen. 7 minutes of her just standing there, doing nothing. "It's strange," Reyes admitted. "But strange doesn't mean guilty." Winters looked at him. "You have doubts?" "I have questions. Why would someone who allegedly doesn't care about kids volunteer to watch them in the first place? Why agree to go on this trip? She had reservations? Guilt comes in many forms, Detective. Maybe she didn't plan it, maybe something snapped. Or maybe something else happened that we don't understand yet." Winters leaned back in her chair. "Then it's your job to figure it out. Because right now the evidence points to Harper Vale, and unless something changes, that's the story we're going with." Reyes didn't argue. But as he left the office, a thought nagged at him. Harper's face in that footage, the way she stood, the way she moved. She didn't look guilty. She looked lost. That night, Harper finally broke down. She sat on the floor of the motel bathroom, her knees pulled to her chest, sobbing uncontrollably. She had tried so hard to hold it together, to be strong, to find answers, but there were no answers. Just a blank space in her memory where the truth should be. And the worst part, she was starting to believe what everyone else believed. That maybe she had done something wrong. Maybe she was responsible. Maybe she deserved this. Her phone buzzed again. She ignored it, but then it buzzed again and again. Finally, she picked it up. It was a text from an unknown number. "You don't remember because you weren't supposed to." Harper's blood ran cold. She stared at the message, her hands shaking. "Who is this?" 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then one more message. "Someone who knows what really happened, and you need to remember before it's too late." Harper didn't sleep that night. She sat on the edge of the motel bed, staring at her phone, waiting for another message, but none came. She had tried calling the number. It went straight to voicemail. No greeting, just silence. She had tried texting back. No response. "You don't remember because you weren't supposed to." What did that mean? Was someone watching her? Did someone know what happened that day? Or was this just another cruel prank from a stranger who wanted to torment her? Harper's mind raced. She wanted to tell someone. Michael, the police, anyone. But what would she even say? I got a cryptic text from an unknown number. They'd think she was losing it, or worse, that she was making it up for attention. So she said nothing, and the fear settled deeper into her chest. The next morning, Harper met Michael Cross at his office. It was small, cramped. Stacks of case files covered every surface. Michael was in his mid-40s with tired eyes and a rumpled suit. He looked like someone who had been fighting losing battles for too long. But when he looked at Harper, there was something in his expression that made her feel, for the first time in days, like someone might actually be on her side. "Thanks for coming in," he said, gesturing to a chair. I know this is hard. Harper sat down, her hands folded tightly in her lap. I need to understand what happened that day, Michael said gently, and I need you to be completely honest with me, even if it's hard to hear. Harper nodded. Okay, walk me through the day, from the beginning. Harper took a deep breath. We got to the lake house Friday night, the Callaways and the Rosts. It was supposed to be a relaxing weekend, just a break from everything. And you were there to help with the kids? Yeah, Vanessa asked me to come. She said they wanted some time to themselves, and I was good with Emma and Daniel. Were you comfortable with that? Harper hesitated. Not really. I mean, I liked the kids, but I'd never been alone with them for that long before. I told Vanessa I wasn't sure, but she insisted. Michael made a note. Okay, so, Saturday. What do you remember? Harper closed her eyes, trying to pull the pieces together. We had breakfast. The parents went into town around 2 p.m. They said they'd be back in an hour, maybe 2. I stayed with Emma and Daniel. And then? We went outside. The kids wanted to play by the water. I said okay, but I told them to stay close. I was watching them. And then what happened? Harper's voice faltered. I don't know. I remember standing on the dock. I remember the sun was really bright, and the water was so calm. It was peaceful. And the kids? They were playing. Laughing, I could hear them. And then? Harper opened her eyes. Nothing, there's just nothing. The next thing I remember is running, and then finding them in the water. Michael leaned forward. Harper, you're telling me there's a gap, a blank space. How long? I don't know, maybe 20. Minutes, maybe more. Michael's expression darkened. That's a problem. I know. The prosecution is going to argue you're lying, or that you dissociated because of guilt. But I'm not lying. I really don't remember. Michael studied her. Do you have any history of memory issues? Blackouts? Seizures? No, nothing like that. What about medication? Were you taking anything that day? Harper nodded slowly. Yeah, I was on something for anxiety. My doctor prescribed it a few months ago. Michael's eyes sharpened. What was it? Clonazepam. Low dose. And you took it that day? Yeah. In the morning. Michael wrote that down, underlining it twice. Okay, that's something we can work with. Clonazepam can cause memory issues, especially if combined with stress or other factors. Harper felt a flicker of hope. So, that could explain it? Maybe, but we'll need a medical expert to testify, and even then it's not a guarantee. The hope faded. Michael leaned back. Harper, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Okay. Is there any part of you, any part at all, that thinks you might have done something that day, even unintentionally? Harper's throat tightened. I don't know. That's not an answer. I don't want to believe I did, but I can't remember, so how can I be sure? Michael's expression softened. Because the evidence doesn't show intent. It shows confusion, distraction, but not malice, and that's what we're going to prove. That. Afternoon, Michael arranged for Harper to see Dr. Evelyn Marsh, a neuropsychologist who specialized in memory and trauma. Dr. Marsh's office was quiet, calm, the kind of place designed to make people feel safe. Harper sat across from her, fidgeting with her hands. Harper, Dr. Marsh said gently, I'm here to help you understand what happened, not to judge you, okay? Harper nodded. I've reviewed your medical history. You've been on clonazepam for 4 months. Is that correct? Yes. And you've never experienced memory loss before? No. Have you been under significant stress recently? Harper almost laughed. You could say that. Dr. Marsh smiled faintly. Before the incident, I mean. Harper thought about it. Yeah, work has been hard. I'm a substitute teacher. It's not stable, and I've been struggling financially. And emotionally? Harper looked down. I don't have a lot of people in my life. Vanessa was one of my closest friends. I didn't want to let her down. Dr. Marsh nodded, taking notes. I'd like to try something if you're comfortable. It's called guided recall. I'll help you walk through that day, step by step, and see if we can unlock anything you might have suppressed. Harper's chest tightened. What if I don't want to remember? Then we stop. But Harper, if there's something buried in your mind, it's going to come out eventually. It's better if we do it here, in a safe space. Harper hesitated. Then she nodded. Okay. Dr. Marsh dimmed the lights and guided Harper into a relaxed state. Close your eyes, take a deep breath. I want you to picture yourself at the lake house. Saturday afternoon, you're standing on the dock. Harper's breathing slowed. What do you see? The water. It's so still. The kids are behind me. I can hear them laughing. Good, what do you feel? Warm, the sun is warm, but I feel tired, really tired. Okay, stay with that. What happens next? Harper's brow furrowed. I hear something. What do you hear? A voice, someone calling my name. Dr. Marsh leaned forward. Who? Harper's eyes moved rapidly beneath her closed lids. I don't know, it's distant, like it's coming from far away. Is it one of the children? No, it's a woman. Do you recognize the voice? Harper's breathing quickened. I think so, but I can't place it. It's okay. Stay with it. What happens after you hear the voice? Harper's hands gripped the armrests. Everything goes quiet, the kids stop laughing, and then? Harper's eyes snapped open. She was shaking. I can't do this. Dr. Marsh reached out gently. It's okay. You did well. We can stop. But Harper wasn't listening, because in that moment she had remembered something that changed everything. The voice she heard that day wasn't a stranger's. It was Vanessa's. Vanessa Calloway hadn't left her house in 3 days. She sat in Emma's bedroom, surrounded by toys, drawings, and the faint smell of strawberry shampoo that still clung to the pillows. Her phone buzzed constantly. Friends, family, reporters. She ignored all of it. Greg knocked softly on the doorframe. Van, you need to eat something. She didn't respond. He stepped inside, his own face hollow with grief. The detective wants to talk to us again. Tomorrow morning. Vanessa finally looked up. Her eyes were red, swollen. Why? What else is there to say? I don't know. But we have to go. Vanessa turned back to the stuffed rabbit in her hands. I keep thinking, if I hadn't asked her to come, if I hadn't pushed her. Greg knelt beside her. This isn't your fault. Isn't it? Vanessa's voice cracked. I knew Harper wasn't comfortable. She told me. And I pressured her anyway because I wanted a break. I wanted to relax. And now Emma is dead. Harper was an adult. She could have said no. But she didn't, because I made her feel like she had to. Greg didn't know what to say, because part of him wondered the same thing. Had they put too much responsibility on Harper? Had they seen something in her, some sign, and ignored it? The trial starts soon, Greg said quietly. We'll get answers. Then, Vanessa wiped her eyes. Answers won't bring her back. Across town, Karen and Todd Rost sat in their living room, staring at the television. The news was replaying footage of Harper being escorted into the courthouse for her arraignment. Karen's jaw was tight. She doesn't even look sorry. Todd didn't respond. Did you hear me? Karen turned to him. She doesn't look sorry. I heard you. Then why aren't you saying anything? Todd exhaled slowly. Because I don't know what to think anymore. Karen stared at him. What does that mean? It means I've been going over that weekend. In my head, over and over, and something doesn't add up. What are you talking about? Todd hesitated. The night before, at dinner. Harper seemed off, but so did Vanessa. Karen frowned. Vanessa? Yeah. They were sitting together, and I saw Vanessa say something to Harper, something quiet. And Harper's face changed. She looked scared. Scared of what? I don't know, but it stuck with me. Karen shook her head. You're reading into it. Vanessa and Harper were friends. They probably just... Karen, I'm telling you. Something was wrong. Karen stood abruptly. I don't want to hear this. Harper Vale killed our son. I don't care what she was feeling or what Vanessa said to her. She was responsible and she failed. Todd looked at his wife, his voice soft. What if she wasn't the only one responsible? Karen's eyes filled with fury. Don't you dare. I'm not defending her, I'm just saying it. Maybe we don't know the whole story. Karen stormed out of the room. Todd sat alone, staring at the television. And for the first time since Daniel's death, he allowed himself to ask the question he'd been avoiding. What really happened that day? Later that evening, Vanessa's phone rang. It was Detective Reyes. Mrs. Calloway, I need to ask you a few follow-up questions. Can we meet tomorrow? Vanessa's stomach twisted. What kind of questions? Just clarifying some details. It won't take long. Okay. She hung up and stared at the phone. Greg walked in. Who was that? The detective. He wants to talk again. Greg frowned. About what? Vanessa didn't answer, because she knew exactly what Reyes wanted to ask. He wanted to know about the conversation she'd had with Harper the night before the drowning, the one Todd had seen, the one she'd been hoping no one would remember. Michael Cross sat in his cramped office, surrounded by case files, medical reports, and crime scene photos. He had been a public defender for 12 years. He'd seen a lot of cases, a lot of clients who claimed innocence. But Harper Vale was different. She wasn't lying. He could tell. She genuinely didn't remember what happened that day. The question was why, and more importantly, could he prove it? He picked up his phone and dialed. Dr. Marsh, it's Michael Cross. I need your assessment on Harper's session. Dr. Marsh's voice came through, calm and measured. She's, telling the truth. The memory gap is real. It's consistent with dissociative amnesia triggered by extreme stress or a pharmaceutical reaction. Can you testify to that? Yes, but I need to run more tests. And Michael, there's something else. What? She remembered hearing a voice. A woman's voice, calling her name. Michael sat up. Whose voice? She said it was Vanessa Calloway. Michael's mind raced. Are you sure? That's what Harper said, but she couldn't remember the context. Just the voice. Michael leaned back, staring at the ceiling. Dr. Marsh, I need you to dig deeper. If Vanessa was there, or if Harper heard her voice, that changes everything. I'll schedule another session. Michael hung up and immediately called his investigator, a retired cop named Ray Dominguez. Ray, I need you to check something. Security footage, phone records, anything that places Vanessa Calloway near that lake house between 4 and 5 p.m. on the day of the drowning. I thought the parents were in town. That's what they said, but I want to be sure. You think one of them was there? I think someone was, and I think Harper heard them. The next morning, Ray called back. Michael, you need to see this. They met at a coffee shop. Ray slid a tablet across the table. This is from a ring camera 2 houses down from the lake house. It faces the street. Michael watched the screen. Timestamp, 4:02 p.m. A car pulled up near the lake house, a silver sedan. A woman got out. Michael squinted. Is that Vanessa Calloway? Ray confirmed. She was there, 20 minutes before the 911 call. Michael's heart pounded. Does the prosecution know about this? Not yet. The neighbor didn't think to check the footage until I asked. Michael stared at the screen. Vanessa had lied. She said she was in town with the others, but she wasn't. She had come back early. What was she doing there? Michael muttered. Don't know. The camera doesn't show her going to the house, just parking, and then leaving again around 4:35. Michael's mind spun. 4:35 p.m., 12 minutes before the 911 call. Ray, I need you to find out where she went after she left, and I need phone records. Hers and Harper's. See if they were in contact that afternoon. Ray nodded. On it. That afternoon, Michael met with Harper at the motel. She looked worse than before, thinner, more fragile. Harper, to ask you something, and I need you to think carefully. Okay. You said you heard Vanessa's voice that day. Are you absolutely sure it was her? Harper hesitated. I think so. It sounded like her, but everything was so foggy. Could she have been at the lake house? Harper's eyes widened. What? No, she was in town with everyone else. What if she wasn't? Harper stared at him. What are you saying? Michael pulled out the tablet and showed her the footage. Harper's hand flew to her mouth. She was there, Michael said quietly. She came back and she didn't tell anyone. Why would she do that? I don't know, but we're going to find out. Harper's hands trembled. Michael, if Vanessa was there, does that mean... She couldn't finish the sentence. Michael leaned forward. Harper, I don't know what happened yet, but this changes everything, and we're going to use it. Later. That night, Vanessa sat alone in her kitchen staring at her phone. She had 17 missed calls, 3 from Detective Reyes. She knew what he wanted. He'd found out. Somehow he'd found out she'd gone back to the lake house. Her hands shook as she typed a message to Greg. We need to talk now. Greg appeared in the doorway moments later, his face tense. What's going on? Vanessa looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. I did something I shouldn't have. Greg's stomach dropped. What are you talking about? I went back to the lake house that day, before it happened. Greg stared at her, his voice barely a whisper. What? I had to talk to Harper. I had to tell her something. And now they're going to think I had something to do with it. Vanessa, what did you tell her? Vanessa closed her eyes, her voice breaking. I told her to forget what she... Greg stood frozen in the kitchen doorway. What did Harper see? Vanessa wiped her tears with shaking hands. I can't talk about this. Vanessa. Greg's voice was hard now. Our daughter is dead. And you're telling me you went back to that house and told Harper to forget something? What the hell did she see? Vanessa looked up at him, her face pale. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. What wasn't? Any of it. I needed her to keep quiet. Just for a little while. Greg felt his chest tighten. Keep quiet about what? Vanessa didn't answer. Greg slammed his hand, on the counter. Tell me. I was having an affair, Vanessa shouted, her voice breaking. Okay, is that what you want to hear? I was having an affair and Harper saw me with him the week before. She saw us together. The room went silent. Greg stared at his wife like he didn't recognize her. You were cheating on me? Vanessa's tears came harder now. I didn't mean for it to happen, it did. And Harper saw us at a restaurant. She didn't say anything, but I knew. I could see it in her face. So you went back to the lake house to threaten her? Not threaten, I begged her not to tell you. I told her it was over, that it didn't mean anything, and I asked her to forget it. Greg's hands trembled. And what did she say? She said she wouldn't say anything, but she looked scared, like I'd put too much pressure on her. Greg turned away, his voice hollow. So while Harper was supposed to be watching our daughter, she was distracted, because you dumped your guilt on her. I didn't know this would happen. Didn't you? Greg's voice was cold now. You put her in an impossible position, and now Emma is dead. Vanessa sobbed into her hands. Greg walked out without another word. The next morning, Detective Reyes sat across from Vanessa in the interrogation room. She looked exhausted, broken. Mrs. Calloway, thank you for coming in. Vanessa nodded but didn't speak. Reyes slid a printout across the table. This is footage from a neighbor's security camera, dated the day of the drowning, 4:02 p.m. Vanessa stared at the image, her car, her face. You told us you were in town that afternoon, with your husband and the Rosts, but this shows you at the lake house. Vanessa's lip trembled. I went back. just for a few minutes. Why? I needed to talk to Harper. About what? Vanessa hesitated, then quietly. Something personal. Reyes leaned forward. Mrs. Calloway, 2 children are dead. This is not the time to be vague. Vanessa closed her eyes. I was having an affair. Harper found out. I went back to ask her not to tell my husband. Reyes's expression didn't change, but inside his mind was racing. What time did you leave? Around 4:30, maybe a little later. And where was Harper when you left? On the dock, with the kids. Were the children in the water? No. They were playing on the grass. And Harper? How did she seem? Vanessa's voice cracked. She seemed distant, like she wasn't really there. I thought she was just upset with me. Reyes made a note. Did you give her anything? Food? Drink? Vanessa frowned. No. Why would I? She stopped. Her face went pale. Mrs. Calloway? I brought her tea. Iced tea. I thought it would help calm her down. She seemed anxious. Reyes's pen froze. You gave Harper a drink? Yes, but it was just tea. From a bottle. Did Harper drink it? I think so. I left it on the table for her. Reyes stood. I need you to stay here. 30 minutes later, Reyes was on the phone with the forensics lab. I need you to test Harper Vale's blood work again, specifically for sedatives, anything that could cause drowsiness or memory loss. We already tested for her prescribed medication. Test for everything. Benzodiazepines. Sleep. AIDS. Anything. It'll take a few days. Make it faster. Reyes hung up and stared at the caseboard. Vanessa had been at the house. She had given Harper a drink. And minutes later, Harper had blanked out. Coincidence? Or something worse? Michael Cross received the call that afternoon. Michael. It's Ray. You're not going to believe this. Try me. Vanessa Calloway's phone records, she made a call at 4:18 p.m., right after she arrived at the lake house. Who did she call? Todd Rost. Michael's blood ran cold. Daniel's father? Yeah, the call lasted 2 minutes. What the hell were they talking about? I don't know, but Michael, there's more. What? Todd Rost's car was also spotted near the lake house at 4:25 p.m. Michael stood, his heart pounding. Both of them were there. Looks like it. Michael grabbed his coat. I need to talk to Harper, now. When Michael arrived. At the motel, Harper was sitting on the bed, staring at the wall. Harper, I need you to think. When you heard Vanessa's voice that day, did you hear anyone else? Harper looked up slowly. I don't know. Maybe. A man's voice? Harper's eyes widened. Yes, I think I did. Do you know whose? Harper's breath quickened. No, but it was angry. Someone was arguing. Michael's jaw tightened. Harper, Vanessa, and Todd were both at that house, right before the drowning. Harper's face went white. What? I don't know what they were doing, but they lied. Both of them. Harper stood, her voice shaking. Michael, if they were both there. She couldn't finish, but Michael could. Then you weren't the only one responsible. The courtroom was packed. Reporters lined the back rows. Cameras waited outside. The entire town seemed to be watching. Harper sat at the defense table, her hands folded tightly in her lap. She looked small, fragile. Across the aisle, Vanessa and Greg sat stone-faced. Karen and Todd were beside them, their eyes fixed on Harper with barely concealed rage. Judge Andrea Brennan entered, her expression stern. All rise. The room stood. Be seated. We are here for the trial of Harper Vale, charged with 2 counts of criminally negligent homicide. Opening statements will begin now. District Attorney Sharon Winters stood, her posture confident. Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. She turned to face them. This case is about responsibility, about trust, and about a woman who failed in the most fundamental way. She gestured toward Harper. Harper Vale was entrusted with 2 innocent children. Emma Calloway, age 6, Daniel Rost, age 8. Their parents believed she would keep them safe, but instead, Harper stood on a dock for 7 minutes, while those children drowned. Winters let the words hang in the air. The evidence will show that Harper was distracted, negligent, and that her failure to act directly caused their deaths. This was preventable, and Harper Vale is responsible. She sat down. Michael Cross stood slowly. He looked at the jury, his voice calm but firm. Harper Vale is not a monster. She's a woman who made a mistake. But she is not a murderer. He stepped closer to the jury box. The prosecution wants you to believe Harper simply didn't care, but the evidence will show something very different. Harper suffers from a medical condition. She was on medication, and on the day of the drowning, someone gave her something that altered her state of mind. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. You're going to hear testimony that Harper was not alone that day. That other people were present, people who have not told the truth. Winters shot to her feet. Objection. Counsel is making accusations without evidence. Judge Brennan looked at Michael. Mr. Cross, do you have evidence to support this? I do, Your Honor, and I will present it. Brennan nodded. Then I'll allow it, but tread carefully. Michael sat down. Harper looked at him, her eyes wide. Trust me, he whispered. The trial had begun. The first witness was the lead paramedic, Daniel Chen. He described the scene in clinical detail. The 2 children, the frantic CPR attempts, Harper sitting motionless on the dock. She didn't respond to my questions at first, Chen testified. When she finally spoke, her words were, strange. Strange how? Winters asked. She said, they were so calm until they just disappeared. It didn't make sense. Children don't just disappear. Winters nodded. No further questions. Michael stood for cross-examination. Mr. Chen, in your professional experience, have you encountered people in shock who say things that don't make sense? Yes. And did Harper appear to be in shock? Chen hesitated. She appeared disoriented. Disoriented, not cold, not indifferent. Correct. Michael paused. Did you notice anything unusual about her physical state? Her eyes? Her coordination? Now that you mention it, her pupils were dilated, and she seemed lethargic. Consistent with sedation? Winters stood. Objection. Calls for speculation. Withdrawn. Michael sat down, but the seed was planted. Next, the prosecution called Greg Calloway. He took the stand, his face etched with pain. Winters approached gently. Mr. Calloway, how long have you known Harper Vale? About 5 years. And you trusted her with your daughter? Greg's voice cracked. We did. Why? My wife vouched for her, said she was responsible. Did Harper ever express concerns about watching the children? Greg hesitated. She mentioned she wasn't sure, but my wife convinced her. Winters nodded. Thank you. No further questions. Michael stood. Mr. Calloway, your wife was at the lake house that afternoon, wasn't she? The courtroom erupted in whispers. Greg's face went pale. Yes, briefly. Briefly. What time? Around 4 p.m. And what was she doing there? Greg looked at Vanessa, then back at Michael. Talking to Harper. About what? Something personal. Did your wife give Harper anything? A drink, perhaps? Greg's jaw tightened. I don't know. You don't know, or you don't want to say. Winters shot up. Objection. Badgering the witness. Sustained, Judge Brennan said sharply. Move on, Mr. Cross. Michael nodded. No. Further questions. But the damage was done. That afternoon, the prosecution called their forensic expert, Dr. Raymond Cole. He explained the timeline, the water temperature, the estimated time of drowning. Based on the evidence, the children entered the water between 4:20 and 4:35 p.m. And where was Harper Vale during that time? Winters asked. according to security footage standing on the dock, motionless. Winters played the footage for the jury. The room fell silent as they watched Harper stand perfectly still for 7 agonizing minutes. When Michael cross-examined, his tone was sharp. "Dr. Cole, you testified the children drowned between 4:20 and 4:35, correct?" "Correct." "And Vanessa Calloway arrived at 4:02, left at 4:35, correct?" "According to witness statements, yes." "So she was present during the window when the children entered the water?" Dr. Cole hesitated. "Technically, yes." "And Todd Rost's vehicle was also spotted nearby at 4:25? Winters stood. "Objection. Relevance." Michael turned to the judge. "It's entirely relevant, Your Honor. If others were present, the timeline changes." "I'll allow it," Brennan said. Michael faced Dr. Cole again. "Were you made aware of this, A1? No. So your analysis assumed Harper was alone, but she wasn't. I can't speak to that. No further questions." The jury looked confused now, uncertain, and that was exactly what Michael wanted. That evening, Dr. Evelyn Marsh called Michael. "I had another session with Harper. You need to hear this." "What did she remember?" "More than before, much more." The next morning, Dr. Marsh took the stand. Michael approached carefully. "Dr. Marsh, can you explain dissociative amnesia to the jury?" "It's a condition where the brain blocks out traumatic memories as a defense mechanism. It can also be triggered by certain medications or substances." "And you've been treating Harper Vale?" "Yes. Through guided recall, we've been able to recover fragments of her memory from that day." Michael nodded. "What did she remember?" "She remembered hearing voices. A woman's voice, which she identified as Vanessa Calloway, and a man's voice, angry, arguing." The courtroom erupted in whispers. Judge Brennan banged her gavel. "Order," Michael continued. "Did Harper remember what they were arguing about?" "Not the words, but she remembered feeling afraid, like she wasn't supposed to be hearing it. And after that, she remembered drinking something, iced tea, and then everything became foggy. Her limbs felt heavy, her thoughts slowed. Consistent with sedation?" "Yes." Winters stood. "Objection. Dr. Marsh is not a toxicologist." Sustained. Michael didn't flinch. "Dr. Marsh, in your professional opinion, was Harper Vale in full control of her faculties that afternoon?" "No. Based on her symptoms and the timeline, I believe she was chemically impaired." "Thank you. No further questions." Winters' cross-examination was brutal. "Dr. Marsh, isn't it possible Harper is fabricating these memories to avoid responsibility?" "No. The neurological markers are consistent with genuine recall. But you can't prove someone drugged her, can you? Not without toxicology results. And those results came back negative for anything beyond her prescribed medication." Dr. Marsh hesitated. The initial test was limited. A broader panel could reveal more. Could, but didn't. Winters sat down, satisfied, but Michael wasn't finished. That afternoon, Michael called Ray Dominguez to the stand. Ray explained his investigation, the security footage, the phone records. "I discovered that both Vanessa Calloway and Todd Rost were near the lake house during the critical window." "And did you find any communication between them?" "Yes. Vanessa called Todd at 4:18 p.m. The call lasted 2 minutes. "What were they discussing?" "I don't know. But shortly after Todd's vehicle was spotted in the area." Michael turned to the jury. "So we have 2 people who lied about their whereabouts. 2 people who were present when the children drowned. And yet, Harper Vale is the only one on trial." Winters objected, but the point was made. After court adjourned, Michael met with Harper in a small conference room. "You did well today," he said. Harper shook her head. "It's not enough. They still think I'm guilty." "Not all of them. The jury is starting to doubt. And tomorrow, I'm calling Vanessa to the stand." Harper's eyes widened. "Will she tell the soul truth?" "She'll have to, because if she doesn't, I'll bury her." Harper looked down at her hands. Michael, what if I am guilty? What if I did something and I just don't remember? Michael leaned forward. Then we'll deal with it, but Harper, listen to me. You're not a monster. You made mistakes. But you didn't kill those children, and I'm going to prove it. Harper's eyes filled with tears. For the first time in weeks, she allowed herself to hope. The courtroom was tense as Vanessa Calloway took the stand. Her hands trembled as she was sworn in. She avoided looking at Harper. Michael approached slowly, his voice measured. Mrs. Calloway, you told investigators you were in town the afternoon of June 14th. Is that correct? Vanessa's voice was barely a whisper. Yes. But that wasn't true, was it? Vanessa closed her eyes. No. You were at the lake house at 4:02 p.m., correct? Yes. Why did you lie? I was ashamed. Ashamed of what? Vanessa's voice cracked. I was having an affair. Harper had found out. I went back to ask her not to tell my husband. The jury shifted uncomfortably. And when you arrived, where was Harper? On the dock with the children. Were the, children in the water? No, they were playing on the grass. And you brought Harper something to drink, didn't you? Vanessa hesitated. Yes, iced tea. Did Harper drink it? I assume so. I left it on the table. Michael walked to the defense table and picked up a document. Mrs. Calloway, are you aware that Harper's blood showed traces of zolpidem, a sleep aid, in addition to her prescribed medication? The courtroom erupted. Vanessa's face went white. I didn't. You didn't know? Or you didn't think anyone would find out? Winters leapt up. Objection. Counsel is accusing the witness. Without evidence! Judge Brennan banged her gavel. Mr. Cross, do you have proof Mrs. Calloway administered this substance? I have proof it was in Harper's system. And I have proof Mrs. Calloway gave her a drink. The jury can connect the dots. Brennan's eyes narrowed. Tread carefully. Counselor. Michael turned back to Vanessa. Mrs. Calloway, did you put anything in that tea? No. Then how did zolpidem get into Harper's system? I don't know. Michael let the silence hang. Then he asked quietly, who were you protecting, Mrs. Calloway? Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. She looked at Todd Rost. And in that moment, everything shifted. After a brief recess, the prosecution called their final witness. A surprise. Karen Rost. She took the stand, her face hard. Winters approached. Mrs. Rost, you've heard the testimony today. Do you believe Harper Vale is responsible for your son's death? Karen's voice was steady. Yes. Why? Because she was the adult in charge. Whatever else happened, she failed. Winters nodded. Thank you. But when Michael stood for cross-examination, his expression was grim. Mrs. Rost, were you aware your husband was at the lake house that afternoon? Karen's face faltered. What? Your husband Todd, he was there at 4:25 p.m. Karen looked at Todd, her eyes wide with shock. I didn't know. Michael's voice was gentle now. He didn't tell you? No. Do you know why he was there? Karen shook her head, tears streaming down her face. Michael sat down. The jury stared at Todd Rost, and Todd stared at the floor. Michael Cross stood. The defense calls Todd Rost to the stand. The courtroom fell silent. Todd walked slowly to the witness stand, his face pale. Michael didn't waste time. Mr. Rost, you were at the lake house on June 14th at 4:25 p.m. Why? Todd's hands gripped the armrests. Vanessa called me. She was panicking, said Harper was acting strange. She asked me to come. And what did you see when you arrived? Harper was on the dock, staring at the water. The kids they were already in the lake, not moving. Gasps filled the courtroom. And what did you do? Todd's voice broke. I froze. I didn't know what to do. Vanessa was screaming, and then Harper jumped in. She tried to pull them out. So Harper tried to save them. Yes. Then why didn't you tell anyone? Todd looked at Vanessa. Because Vanessa begged me not to. She said if anyone knew she'd been there, they'd blame her. So we agreed to say nothing. Michael's voice was ice. You let Harper take the fall, alone. Todd said nothing. Michael turned to the judge. Your Honor, the defense calls Harper Vale. Harper stood, her legs shaking. She walked to the stand and was sworn in. Michael's voice was soft. Harper, tell the jury what you remember. Harper took a deep breath. I remember standing on the dock. I felt so tired, like I couldn't move. I heard Vanessa and Todd arguing. Then everything went black. When did, you realize the children were gone? When I woke up, I saw them in the water. I jumped in. I tried so hard to save them. Her voice broke. But I was too late. Winters stood for cross. Ms. Vale, isn't it convenient that you don't remember? I wish I did. You were responsible. You failed. Admit it. Harper's eyes filled with tears. I failed, but I didn't kill them. She looked at Vanessa. Tell them what you did. Please. The courtroom was silent. All eyes turned to Vanessa. Judge Brennan leaned forward. Mrs. Calloway, do you have something to say? Vanessa stood slowly. Her face streaked with tears. I need to testify. Winters tried to object, but Brennan raised a hand. I'll allow it. Vanessa took the stand, her hands shaking. Michael approached. Mrs. Calloway, what happened that day? Vanessa's voice was barely audible. I was desperate. Harper had seen me. With Todd. We'd been having an affair for months. I couldn't let my husband find out. The courtroom erupted. Greg Calloway's face went white. Vanessa continued sobbing. I went to the lake house to beg Harper to stay quiet. I brought her tea, and I put something in it, a sleeping pill just to calm her down. I didn't think. You drugged her, Michael said quietly. I didn't mean for this to happen. I just wanted her compliant, quiet. And the children? Vanessa's voice cracked. Todd and I were arguing, near the water. We didn't see them go in. By the time we realized, it was too late. Harper was unconscious on the dock. We panicked. So you left her there and let her believe she was responsible. Vanessa buried her face in her hands. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Karen Rost let out a guttural scream and lunged toward Vanessa. Bailiffs restrained her. Judge. Brennan banged her gavel repeatedly. Order, order. 3 hours later, the jury returned. On the charge of criminally negligent homicide, we find the defendant, Harper Vale, not guilty. Harper collapsed into Michael's arms, sobbing. But there was no celebration. Vanessa Calloway and Todd Rost were arrested immediately, charged with involuntary manslaughter, evidence tampering, and obstruction of justice. 6 months later, Harper sat on a bench overlooking the ocean. She had left Pine Haven, started over in a new town, a new life. The nightmares still came. The guilt still lingered. She hadn't killed Emma and Daniel, but she had failed them, and no verdict could change that. A woman approached and sat beside her. Harper Vale? Harper looked up. It was Karen Rost. Harper's chest tightened. Mrs. Rost, I'm so... Karen raised a hand. I'm not here for an apology. Then why? Karen stared at the water. Because I needed to see you. To know you're human, not a monster. Harper's eyes filled with tears. Karen continued, her voice soft. What Vanessa and Todd did, it destroyed everything. My son, my marriage, my faith in people. I'm sorry. I know you are. Karen stood. I don't forgive you, but I don't hate you either. You were a victim too. She walked away. Harper sat alone, watching the waves. The truth had surfaced, but it hadn't brought peace. Only the bitter clarity that some tragedies have no villains, just broken people making terrible choices, and sometimes that's the cruelest truth of all.